So, like I was saying before, even Andre and I, we were talking right before we hopped on this call, about the sacrifice that it takes. Like I said, in the last chapter, we were talking about, the power of self-talk. And the reason I think this book is so important is because, like I said before, we have been in the employee mindset much longer than we've been in the entrepreneur mindset. Those of you that don't know me, my name is Sakinah Abdul-Jaleel. I'm coming to you from Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm a mom of 5, grandmother of 4. I run several things from home. I'm an interior designer. Of course, I trade in the Forex market. I'm also a professional network marketer. I have a speaking and training business. And I homeschool my 3-year-old grandson. He's not here right now. I don't have him come until 11 because I've learned that he is not a morning person. So I learned that the hard way. So he'll be here in a little bit. But what I love about what we're able to do in this space, I always say that there was nothing in my background that warranted me having success in the Forex market. That wasn't something that I was looking for. I was blessed to get that phone call from Randy and Wanda Webb, and it absolutely changed my life. I got the chance to meet all of you, get reacquainted with some of you, and life has never been the same. I've never had more fun doing network marketing. I've never had, more passion for it than I have right now. And so I get to share this call with Mr. Andre English, someone that I have an incredible ton. There's not even enough words of the respect that I have for this man, straight up. And so I want you, Andre, to tell your story, and we'll just talk about, some of the sacrifices that we've made, some of the sacrifices that we know that it's going to take in order to win, not only in the network marketing space, but in the trading space as well. So let's see, I don't want to mute you out.
I think you got it.
Okay, got it.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Hey team, good morning. My name is Andre English, and thank you so much for that warm intro by Sakinah. I always appreciate having the opportunity to share anything with Sakinah, learn anything from Sakinah, because I think you guys have heard me tell before, but like the very first time I saw her was at a regional event here in Dallas, and she came and did the training. And I knew instantly that this was someone I needed to pay the closest and utmost attention to, because like half the room was like people from her team that traveled from Arkansas all the way down. And so that was my first introduction. And then of course, through this business and this family, just seeing not only her work ethic, but how her team continues to grow, her leadership. I'm always excited to be able to share the opportunity to share anything with her. So it's funny, we a little bit about my background. I come from a background of entrepreneurs. My mom was an entrepreneur. My dad was an OBGYN. I never thought that I would work for someone for a long period of time ever in my life. I always knew that at some point in time I would strike out and own my own business, primarily because I knew it was possible. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of people struggle with, is that they didn't have an example that there was a possibility that they could succeed in this space. The only thing that they ever knew was that they could get a job and work for somebody else. And I just didn't want to do that. Like I saw so many things growing up that enabled me to understand that we weren't necessarily wealthy, right? But we were wealthy in areas that were important to me as a child. And so that's a little bit about my background. As I got growing up, I started my own company. I started my first company at 19 years old in college. I started a nonprofit organization that I eventually turned over and left to the students when I left school. From there, I signed on, and I helped found and start the youth network of the largest anti-police brutality organization in the country. And then from there, I launched a bodyguard company and then a speaking business. So I've been pretty much in this entrepreneurial space for quite some time. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's the way that I have found that gives me the opportunity to live the life that I want to live. And even to this day, I wouldn't consider myself financially wealthy, but I am able to stay at home and be a full-time dad, and never miss a moment with my baby girl. And that's what's important to me. So I'll turn it back over to you,
Absolutely.
Sakina.
Absolutely. And that's so important, guys, because when you enter this space, you may think you're coming here for one thing. I know when I started 2.5 years ago, I thought I was just coming just to learn how to trade Forex, but I've learned so much in the interim of that it just blows my mind. And you made me go back and think about when I first stepped into entrepreneurship as well as a kid. My mom was a hardworking woman, my dad as well. And but my mom always had something going on the side. I could come home from school, and there was a Tupperware party being set up, a jewelry party being set up, a copper pot and pan party being set up. So how it affected my thinking was that, yes, you can work hard on a job, but you can also bring in money doing something else. You didn't have to just be locked into that. Now, contrast that with my own brother, who's 4 years younger than me. He's never stepped into the entrepreneurship field. He saw her working hard. He saw my dad working hard, and that's what he continues to do to this day. The idea of him being an entrepreneur scares the heck out of him, and it's funny how we were brought up in the same household, but we got two completely different thought processes when it comes to that. And so, one of the things that I've had to do over the years, because this is not my first network marketing company, and when my kids were younger, I think I mentioned earlier that I have 5. And when they were young, they're grown 26 and from 26 to 36 years old is in there. But when they were younger, I had to make those sacrifices when it came to family. I had to make those sacrifices when it came to, time and things that I wanted to do with them. And as a mom, I would go through that mommy guilt to a certain extent. But to be 100% transparent with you all, I see more women today that have more mommy guilt than what I saw back then. And I don't know if it's the influences on social media where people feel like they have to be this perfection or this perfect person. And they're trying to live up to unrealistic expectations, like have a Kim Kardashian lifestyle on a $30,000 a year budget. Doesn't work, you know what I mean? And so I know, like I said, when my kids were young, there were things that I had to sacrifice for, but I always had that conversation with them. What I was doing, what my goal was, why I wasn't here at this time, why I had to go. Because back then when you were doing a network marketing company, you had meetings every night. Back in the day, Andre,
Yes.
even pre-COVID-19, you had meetings, home meetings every night. And so having those conversations with them, drawing up those vision boards and letting your kids, pick out those things that they want to have when you reach a certain rank or when you reach a certain goal, whether your goal is to reach a certain income amount in your trading. Maybe hopefully you all have trading plans and you've determined how many pips you want to get for the week, and maybe that's going to determine how much time you spend in the academy or how much time you spend trading. Well, you need to involve your family in that, whether it's a spouse, whether it's kids. They need to know why you're on that laptop 2 to 3 hours a week. They need to know why you're making those phone calls. They need to understand why you're doing the Zooms, why you're on 2-on-1s. They need to understand those sacrifices. And honestly, when you enroll them in your vision, they'll end up being your largest cheerleaders. They'll end up being your biggest cheerleaders. And even if they don't right from jump, it's okay because they see that you're committed. Because honestly, from my experience, when it comes to having a spouse or a significant other, and you're focused on your entrepreneurial goals, your wishes, your things that you want to have happen, sometimes you get pushback from that significant other. And just from my experience, it may be because they've seen you do other things before, but they've also seen you quit. They've seen you give up, or they've seen you not give your 100%. And they've seen you take time and effort away from them or away from the family, but there were no results from it. So here you are again, entering that world, and their mind starts flashing back to, I remember the last time she did this, the last time he did this, we didn't have time for this, we didn't have time for that, they were spending money, and then they ended up quitting. So it could be some of those old fears and those old thoughts coming out. And that's where you have to have those real tough but serious conversations and let them know your level of commitment. And at the same time, you got to have that commitment to yourself. Randy did an awesome talk about the power of self-talk. you may yourself be experiencing those doubts and those thoughts in your own head. And that could actually be, that could be the kind of energy that you're putting out. But if you want to win in this space, whether it's the trading space, whether it's the building space of this, or a combination of both, you have to have that commitment to yourself, and you have to express that commitment to your family, and you're going to have to make sacrifices. I love our newest, one of our newest, there's been so many Platinum 600s popping in the past weekend. I can't say just the newest, but one of our newest Platinum 600s, she and her husband are well on their way to Platinum 1000, as well as the other new Platinum 600s that we have. But Demita McGee, she and her husband, LaWayne McGee, up there in Chicago, they've got 3 beautiful children. He works full time. She's a Christian women's wealth coach, business coach. She's an author. She's in the process of writing her 2nd book. She's an accomplished author. She's also going to traditional college in addition to enrolling here. And we're talking in the last 30 days. In their first 30 days, they hit Platinum 600. So you better believe there were some sacrifices that were made, but one of the, and she and I, we talk about this a lot, the sacrifices that they make, and the conversations that she has with her children. And one of the things that stood out to me about her, those of you that know her and have met her and her husband, you already know the caliber of people they are and their commitment. And so we were talking about 2 weeks ago, and here's the thing, their first 2 weeks, they, got their fees waived, in just about 13, 14 days. So that's 2 people. They didn't come out like boom, 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 putting people in. They got enrolled in the academy. They started going through the steps and things like that. And like I said, within their first 2 weeks, they, again, got free access. But something happened, and there was a shift, and they started thinking about, chairman is really real. It is really within grasp, within reach. And so with that, making that determination that was where they wanted to go, they started looking at how they were going to make those sacrifices in their life and with their family. So really, even though I say they hit Platinum 600 within their first 30 days, the reality of it is they did it in 2 weeks. They really did it in the last 2 weeks. And so one of the things that I know Demita did was, again, about 2 weeks ago, she was talking about, just preparing meals for her family. And how much of a mental space that takes up when you're trying to figure out what's for dinner and what's for lunch, and let me get the breakfast ready, and let me make sure this is, it takes up space between grocery shopping and planning the meal and preparing the meal. So what she did was this. She took that Sunday, again, 2 weeks ago, that Sunday, and she prepared all of the meals for the week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. She was cooking for 8 hours. Labeled everything by day, so that all her family needed to do was go in there in the refrigerator, go in there in the freezer. They knew what day they were eating for every single meal. So did it take a sacrifice of time? Yes, 8 hours. But you know how much mental time that freed up? And that's what this is about. Is you don't want to just make sacrifices just for the sake of making sacrifices. You want those sacrifices to be purposeful. You want those sacrifices to be intentional, and you want those sacrifices to be productive, okay? And we're talking about income producing activities, IPAs. And when you do that, you'll see the results, the fruits of the labor, because here again, they hit Platinum 600 during those 2 weeks, And so that's just, just a prelude as to what it takes when it comes to making sacrifices. Maybe you don't, need to cook, prepare meals like that for 3 kids or more and a husband or a spouse, but what things can you put in place today to make your life easier and free up some of that time so that you can go and get to your goals? Because we're all celebrating Matty Pips, $2 million in his trading account. Like, that's phenomenal. Maddie's been in the academy now, I want to say about 2 years, maybe a little bit more. And that didn't just happen yesterday. That didn't just happen last week. That didn't happen 6 months ago. That took time and it took effort. He was on his studying. He didn't just go, oh, green arrow up, red arrow down. I'm not an HFX trader, y'all, so but it didn't just happen because he hopped on Go Live and he looked at some videos and then, you know, studied a strategy for a day or two and then boom, it happened. No, he put in some time and effort. He made some sacrifices with the people that he cares for in his life. You know, he made sacrifice on time. You know, you don't get to Chairman 750. Heck, you don't get to, honestly, you don't get to P150 without making some sacrifice, whether it's time making those phone calls, getting those people on a webinar. So I don't want, you know, one of the things sometimes I think that new entrepreneurs make is thinking that things are going to be easy and wishing things were easier and wanting things to be easier. But like Jim Rohn said, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. And do the things that it takes to make yourself better. Make your time count. If you're going to spend time on Go Live, let it be focused on Go Live. Don't let those outside distractions happen. No phone, no scrolling. When you're making those calls and setting up these 2-on-1 appointments, make it be focused. When you're on these mentorship calls, make it be focused. I know some of you are at work, and I know you can't give it 100% of your time while you're at work. But those of you that are not, you know, these calls are important every single day. You know, and Andre, I thank you for literally hopping in the VIP group saying, hey, I'll get on. Because my first thought was like, man, I wish I would have read that chapter ahead of time and I would have hopped on here and done it, but I didn't. And so that to me was like, oh, girl, no, what are you doing? You know, it's better to be prepared and not need to have that opportunity than to have that opportunity and not be prepared. You know, and I put in our groups, you know, hey guys, I put in a video from Randy from a previous call. And then I put in our groups to, you know, those of you that had the book to go ahead and read that chapter, you know, but you were being more active and said, hey, I'll hop on. And that just made me trigger like, girl, what are we doing? Let's get on here. Let's share what we have, you know, and the information that we have with people. So I thank you for being proactive and really, you know, putting that leadership out there and saying, hey, let's do it, you know, and every single one of us need to be prepared, you know, for things such as this. So that's pretty much, you know, what I wanted to kind of cover when it comes to making those sacrifices, getting your families involved, letting them know why you're doing what you're doing, enroll them in your vision. And if you can't enroll them in your vision, that means you don't have a vision. So you need to check yourself, get yourself focused on what it is you really want to have, what your purpose is, why you're doing it, get clear on it, get real clear. And if it takes you a couple of days to get clear on it, that's okay, but get clear. So that, therefore, like I said, your time is well spent. You know, Andre, what sacrifices? You're a single dad of a beautiful, active. I'm so excited I got to meet her in person. I always see her on the webinar, and man, she is just a true bundle of joy. And I get it. I get Bop now, you know. But you are making a tremendous sacrifice being a single dad of a rambunctious, beautiful little girl. You know, what does that look like for you as you continue to, you know, become a phenomenal trader, as you continue to become a phenomenal leader and moving up through the ranks? What does that look like for you?
Well, if I'm being honest, there's challenges, right? There's challenges with that because, you know, not only because of COVID, but which means I'm not putting her in any programs or after school. So literally, like, she's with me all the time, right? And so, like, I'm her best friend, and, you know, I do most of the playing with her. She doesn't get a lot of, that's why she loves going to the webs, because she gets to interact with children. So there's challenges, but I learned a long time ago, Sakinah, that that baby girl, or my son, who's 25 years old also, they're not my reasons why I can't do something. They're the reasons why I have to do something.
That
right?
part.
And so they're not my excuse, they're my reason. So we just find a way around it, right? But I'm fortunate, again, going back to, and I love some of the things that you touched on, I'm fortunate going back to the fact that I did grow up in an entrepreneurial household. So when you talk about that guilt and things of that nature, I can speak as a child who grew up with a mom who was an entrepreneur, that when you do what Sakinah talked about, when you involve your child in what it is that you're doing, then your child doesn't miss out. Okay, your child doesn't need you there all the time. What I mean by that is that we made sacrifices as a family. I made sacrifices as a young kid. My sacrifices usually revolved around um, after practice, I'd have to go back to the office with my mom. Or after the
Mm.
game, I'd have to go back to the office with my mom. And I had a little pillow and a blanket and a little thing. And sometimes it'd be late at night and I would sleep on the floor next to her as my mom was finishing work. Um, I'm dating myself a little bit, but I was a latchkey kid. So after school, I would walk home, right? And I would have to prepare my own snack, or things of that nature. And, a lot of parents nowadays are filled and racked with this sort of guilt, but I don't think my mom had that. And I definitely didn't have it as a child because anything that was important to me, my mom was always there.
Absolutely.
Right. So anything that I had time, that anything that I wanted to do, she was able to carve around her schedule for the most part. Right. And now obviously she would deny me certain things if it didn't fit. Like she wouldn't let me run her life. A lot of people, the reason why you feel guilty is because you're
Mm.
letting your children run your life. They got to be in
Mm.
this activity and this activity and this activity. No, they don't. They could be in one. Right? They can
Hello.
be in two and they can still get value out of that, right? You have to be able to manage and control. You don't always have to be your child's best friend, right? In order, right? You can make a decision as a parent and say, no, we're going to do this and you're going to get the opportunity to do this. And then if you don't like that, you're going to finish out that season or whatever that is that we paid for, and then you can try something else. But we don't have to do them all at one time. And what that allows you to do is structure your life as a parent so that you can be able to be present in those moments that are important to your child and then go back to doing what it is that you want to do. And because my mom did that, not only was I supportive of her business and her goal, I remember my mom taught me the word entrepreneur when I was like 6 years old at first grade, and you had to do some spelling stuff. And my mom was the only entrepreneur I know. And so there was sacrifices, right? I sacrificed as a kid. I sometimes fell asleep on the floor and I had to get woken up at, 11 o'clock to go back home or, whatever it was. But every single thing that was important to me, which for me growing up was sports. Every single thing that was important to me, she never missed. Matter of fact, my mom did not miss one game from the time I was 6 years old until the time I was 18, except for one time. And it didn't happen until like my senior year of high school. And that was when she finally went and had to go get a job. Right?
Wow.
That was when she finally went and got a job. So for me growing up, I always understood that, like I told you, that was something that I wanted to do. I knew that when I had children, I didn't expect to have a child at 20, right? But I knew that when I had children, I wanted to be able to create and foster that kind of arrangement in that environment. I watched my best friend's dad, who was an electrician, but had gone out and bought rental properties. And I watched how they lived and what they were able to do. And I then compared and contrasted that. I was doing this. I was calculating this all as a kid. And I was like, I don't want that life. Just like the teenagers that we have now, that we say we can't understand them. These millennials, we don't understand. What it is that they've gone around and they've calculated and they said they don't want your life.
Yep.
And so now we're having a hard time dealing and understanding with them because they're like, we're like, yo, you guys are lazy. No, they're not lazy. They just figured out that they don't have to go to work every day. They could just do it on their phone real quick and send it to you and be
Absolutely.
done. And they can go on about their day, right? Like they figured out that they don't want our life. That's how come all these millennials are changing network marketing right now. That's how come we've got all these kids under 23 years old, because they figured out they didn't want to go to hotel meetings.
Mm.
Right? They didn't
Mm.
want to do that. They wanted to get Airbnbs overlooking the ocean and bring all their friends and build something together. That's what they wanted to do. They changed the model, right? They changed the model because they looked at what we had and they said, hey, listen, I don't want that life. So those sacrifices are worth it because you're sacrificing and you're showing your child that there's something better and that there's never a reason why you should not pursue, right? Where you should not pursue your dreams and your goals and your aspirations. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what station in life you are. It doesn't matter how life has knocked you down. As long as you keep getting back up and you continue forward, your children are seeing that. That's what your children are seeing. That's the example. It's not the example of failure. It's the example of overcoming that your child sees, right? And so for those of you who have that, if anybody has that guilt, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I grew up in that household and I think I turned out just all right, right? My son grew up watching me build network marketing, watching me build a network marketing company, never having already hit the top rank. I haven't hit the top rank yet. My son saw that, he watched that, my son decided he wanted to go a different entrepreneurial route, but he still decided that he wanted to be an entrepreneur. His mom, it frustrates the heck out of her. She's an immigrant, right? She comes here from a different country. The goal was go to school, get a good education. She's from Jamaica. You've got to get a college degree. You've got to do this. She is frustrated by her son, but my son said, I see the entrepreneurial vision. I might not want to do it in network marketing because my passion lies in music, but I see a vision of a different way that I want to go. So your children are watching. That's what I wanted to say there. The other thing I wanted to talk about real quick is when we're talking about sacrificing, and Sakinah mentioned this as well, we talked about watching Matty Pitts and the fact that he had to sacrifice. And, you know, I watched this video series one time on YouTube called like the Legends of Trading or something like that. And it's like 6 or 7 of the best traders in the world. And it's interesting when you watch that video, because these are people who went and they were up 10 million in like 1945, and then, you know, all of a sudden they lost it all and they came back down to 0, and then they had to rebuild back and they lost it, and they part pullbacks, right?
Right.
Impulses, pullbacks, etc. Right? But what fascinates me is that when we get in this academy, we have a good day, you know, we catch 55 pips, or we have a couple blue days in a row, and all of a sudden we think we're going to outperform Warren Buffett. And you make the same mistake, right? Is that we all of a sudden we stop going into the academy, or we start listening to someone on our team who's calling trades instead of listening to the 7-figure traders. And basically what happens is all of us fall prey to this. All of us fall victim to this, and it's something that we cannot do. And it's simply this, is that we all want a Matty Pitts $2 million bank account, but we all want to do it on a minimum wage work ethic. And what happens is that's not possible, right? You don't get 7 figures in anything in life except a lottery ticket, right? And not have to put in a 7-figure work ethic. You know, you talked about people not wanting to have, they want it to be easy, and don't wish to be easy, right? And the fact of the matter is that there's no testimony without the test. And if you understand what I love about finally coming into this space, Sakinah, is that I never understood, or I could have never possibly imagined how much trading is a metaphor for life. Yes. I could have never understood how this thing teaches you more about life than probably any active thing that I've ever seen before. Because what we've got to understand is that the deeper the pullback, the stronger the continuation, right? So we all have moments in life where we impulse and we get knocked on our ass. That deeper that pullback, it's not about how hard you got knocked, it's about the comeback, because that continuation is going to take you further along. Am I right or am I right?
Y'all better throw some 7s in that chat room. I got goosebumps. Y'all better
preach, brother, preach.
He just dropped the gold. If you didn't get nothing else, he just dropped the gold. I'm so sorry to just jump in there, but he just dropped the gold. I'm ready to flip this table over. Y'all better blow that chat room up. Andre, come on.
No, it's true, right? And here's the thing. If y'all don't mind if I'm like transparent with y'all, right?
Keep it 100. It's family.
So here we go. 2018, my wife and I, the end of 2017 going into 2018, my wife and I decided that we were going to move to California to bring our daughter closer to grandma, because she hadn't, grandma lived far away. She couldn't get here regularly to see the granddaughter. And my wife is my ex-wife now is a phenomenal singer, and she wanted to have one last go, so to speak, at her music career. So we went back home. We're both from Los Angeles originally. We moved there, cross country, uprooted everything. 6 months later, came back. So y'all are talking about, a lot of people talking about 2020 being the year. 2020 is nothing for me. 2018 was hard, right? 2018, I uprooted my family. I moved there, and then I moved back cross country within 6 months' time. We came back with our tail between our legs. We couldn't find work. There's so many things that couldn't happen in California that we thought were going to happen. We thought that we were going to be able to move in and temporarily stay with mom for a couple months and then be able to move to another place. And so many things happened. And what I didn't understand is that in that time of crisis, there was also other things happening that weren't happening in my heart or my mind, but were happening in my wife's. See, that whole idea where you start something and don't finish and then come back to your wife and then start something and don't finish, folks, you can steal your wife's dream. It's not that she's not supporting you, that's your spouse, is that you stole their dream because you told them over and over you were going to do it. You can steal the dream of your child because you invited them in. You did what Sakinah said, and you said, listen, if you do this, we going to Disneyland. And every day they come home and they're looking at you like, okay, we going to Disneyland, I buy in, I support you, go dad, go dad, go dad, but your Disneyland is on Xbox, right? That's what's happened. Your Disneyland is there, and after a while, your children, your wife, your family, they stop believing you. Yes. Because you've proven to them that they shouldn't. And so what happened is 2018, we started off on an impulse. We moved, we had so much excitement, we had everything going on, and then all of a sudden we hit that pullback. And then unfortunately, in our pullback, it consolidated into 2019. It consolidated into 2019, right? And all of a sudden, at the end of 2019, I got hit with the biggest portion, right? What happens with a consolidation is there's a continuation. So I didn't know I was still in the pullback. Here's a continuation. The end of 2019, all of a sudden, I go to the hospital because I'm having problems with the autoimmune issues that I've been suffering from, right? I'm having problems. I go to the hospital. The night I come home from the hospital, I say, something's not right. Something's not right. The next day I asked my wife, we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary. What do you want to do to celebrate? I mean, are you still excited to be married? She says, no, I don't want to be married anymore, right? She says, no, I don't want to. The day after I come home from the hospital, right? And so I'm like, wow. So you talk about a pullback, we're talking about a strong pullback in life, right? A strong pullback in life. And I'm so thankful for this community. I'm so thankful for being around this environment, right? Because here's what I learned over all of my time in network marketing. Most of the time, and most of you will fall victim to this. If you end up falling victim and your dream dies out, it's because you stop getting around the campfire. Let me tell you this right now. Most of the time, what most people will do is this: you will get sick. You'll have a bill challenge, a financial challenge. You'll have all of these different things that affect your life. And what happens is you'll be going through some crap with your spouse. You'll have whatever it is that you're going through in life. And what you do psychologically is you say, I don't want to bring that negative energy into the group. You think you're doing us a favor, but I want you to write this down. If you want to write something down, write this down. You always need the team more than the team needs you. Yep. Remember that. You always need the team more than the team needs you. So what happens is you begin to pull away, and you can see it. Watch it. You can see people begin to pull away. And the more you pull away from the group, the less you start coming around. And then all of a sudden, the less you start talking about trading. And then all of a sudden, the more you start focusing on other different activities, and you start to see different things that could potentially change your life. And now you're going to switch to a different company. All of a sudden you pull away and things get harder. What I'm telling you is when you're going through challenge, when you're going through struggle, that's when you need the team the most. I know, I'm living proof. See, what got me through that period of time is I had to wake up every morning. I had to do a TP4 call, or I had to do some kind of training call in the morning. I had to be able to be around the team. I had to continue to try to lead. I had to continue to do those types of things. And by staying in the fire, by staying by the campfire, it stoked my dream. It stoked my passion. I was able to weather the storm. And now, the launch, right? Yes. Now we come into 2020, the pullback's over, and boom, we're impulsing. I'm having the best year of my life, right? Yes, is it challenging? Yes, other things, but yes, it's the best year in my life. And you know what? I had to have the honesty. A lot of people don't. I mean, when we finally, our divorce was finalized. My divorce was finalized one day after my 10-year anniversary, right? And I had to go, and I did it for me, and I did it for my daughter. So because Facebook is a record now of everything that's happening. And I had to go on, and I had to say, look, I'm not angry. And when I went on and I said to my wife, I said, on Facebook, I said, I want to thank you for having the courage to do a difficult thing, right? Because she wasn't happy. and I didn't want her to be trapped. And I didn't realize that if in her being unhappy, it was preventing me from growing. See, we were in a longer pullback than I thought. I just didn't recognize it. Y'all ever had that happen? Y'all ever thought that, hey, listen, all the indicators say this trade is going to turn around, right? All the indicators say we should, you know what, I'm going to just hold it. I'm going to just hold on to it. I'm going to just hold it. I know I don't have a stop loss in. I'm going to just hold on to the trade, you know, because the indicators say it's going to come. And now it's 10 pips, it's 20 pips, it's 30 pips, and it creeps up on you day after day after day. And then all of a sudden she said, no, stop loss. And what it allowed me to do is get back into another trade in my life, get back into another position. See, that stop, just like trading, when you finally stop out, you can now all of a sudden find another position to re-enter, and you can make back every bit that you lost and then stop, right? Make back every bit that you lost, then but what happens? You have to sacrifice. I had to make some sacrifices. I had to make some decisions. I had to say, listen, I know that I'm going into a different season. I'm going to go ahead and move back in with my son, and we're going to consolidate our resources so that we can both get ahead. I had to make certain sacrifices, and those sacrifices are necessary to be able to get to where I want to go, because I know where I'm going. I'm going Chairman Elite. And I'll just put it at that, because by the time I get Chairman Elite won't be Chairman 1000. It'll be whatever it is that they're talking about. That's where I'm going. And I'm going to have 3 Chairman Elite legs, and we're going to be able to impact 1 million lives. And we're going to be able to take this thing around the world, because from the background that I come from, if I can show someone what this can do, and I can turn it into a weapon of mass liberation instead of a weapon of mass distraction, then all of a sudden we can start to change communities. We can allow people to be able to make decisions for themselves. We don't have to have a leader come from New York to Little Rock, Arkansas to tell the people in Little Rock what they need. We can have people in Arkansas determine what they need for themselves.
Absolutely.
Why? Because of this, right? And so if I have that vision, then I understand that if I have a God-sized dream, then that means that there has to be a God-sized challenge that comes along with it. Right? If I have a God-sized dream, there has to be a God-sized challenge. So when you speak those words out your mouth, just understand that you're speaking something powerful, that those seeds that are planted are something powerful. But as long as you stick to the vision, as long as you take one step and you continue to take one step, you overcome that challenge, and then you begin to show other people what's possible because of your sacrifice. Now let's just finish this with this. I want you to understand that sacrifice goes both ways. Sacrifice cuts both ways. We only look at it as a way, almost like a punishment, right? We look at it like, if I'm sacrificing, I'm almost punishing myself because I'm taking away from these things that I want to do in order to get over here for this other goal, or there's some kind of tangible thing. But sacrifice goes both ways. What do I mean by that? You all have a goal in your heart. You all have a vision in your heart. There's something that you want to do, and you can either sacrifice for it. Let's use the Xbox as an example for all of my fellas on the line, right? You can either sacrifice time away from your Xbox, or your Xbox becomes the fulcrum that sacrifices your dream. See, the more time that you commit to that thing that you're not supposed to be doing, that thing is causing you to sacrifice away from your dream. You're not sacrificing for your dream, you're sacrificing against your dream for that temporary, you know, that temporary thing that you want, that temporary happiness, whatever it may be. So listen, folks, I don't want to go too long. I don't want to take away from Sakinah because, you know, I really love listening to her. I got a whole page of notes after you just talking. So
both ways.
But here's the thing, folks. When you understand what we've been learning, what Randy and Wanda Webb have been teaching, what we learned in this book, when she's been talking about it since, that's why I know the message resonated with her. The law of compensation that says that you cannot be cheated. Then if we understand that we cannot be cheated, then it's not a sacrifice, it's just a down payment for success. We understand that it's not a sacrifice, it's where you want to go. You have to make a down payment. You have to put something in. You can't start nothing without getting excited, without having a down payment. Matter of fact, I'll be honest with y'all, folks. Y'all ready? Y'all wouldn't be here if someone didn't get excited.
Hello.
I'm not talking about the business. I mean, y'all would not be here on earth if someone didn't get excited, right?
Hello.
So excitement is important, right? Excitement, you gotta put something in, you've gotta invest, you've gotta put some seed money in, you gotta do something. And so what happens is every little sacrifice is not a sacrifice, it's a down payment, it's an investment into what it is that you want for your life, because you cannot be cheated. You cannot be cheated. And just like you guys will sit there and you guys can understand, and we all can, I don't, when I say you, I mean me, and we can understand that we have to put $20 a week out of our paycheck, or $100 a week, or whatever it is. If we're saving up to buy a house, we got to spend the next year or two saving up to buy a house. And so we need money to make the down payment. What happens is, you can do fractional down payment on your dream, but you have to look at it like that. So every time you have a decision on whether it's a sacrifice, it's not a sacrifice, it's a down payment. And just like you wouldn't miss the down payment for your house, why would you miss the down payment for your dream? So what you need to do is you need to go in and you need to say, listen, I am not sacrificing, I'm making a down payment on my future. I'm making a down payment on who I'm going to become. Every time I go to the gym, I'm not sacrificing something else. I'm not sacrificing chocolate. I'm making a down payment on that body that I want to have. So when I get back in the single market, I look right. You know what I'm saying? Right? I gotta be able to make them sacrifices, right? So that's the thing is, it's a mindset shift. Everything, if we haven't learned nothing over the last bit of this mentorship call, is that everything starts in the mind. And if you can you can begin to flip the switch, if you will, and say, I am not making a sacrifice, I'm making an investment. See, we're part of an investment community. We're part of a wealth community. And that wealth extends far beyond just Forex. If you get out of this and you understand that every time you make a wealth decision, that wealth decision, that investment, if you will, doesn't have to necessarily be with your dollars or your Bitcoin. But it could be that you decided to set up a schedule and explain to your daughter that, listen, I'm going to miss a couple moments of playtime with you today because we're going to sacrifice that time. We're going to invest that time into another family. We're going to invest that time someplace else. I know that that hurts you and stings you a little bit, baby girl, but it's going to be okay. Because in the long run, those compounded interest on those right decisions will allow us to have a life where we can do whatever we want. See, your sacrifice can be compounded when you think of it as an investment. And we understand compound interest, don't we? Right? Now that we've been in the academy, we understand that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, but that compound interest comes through compound sacrifice, compound sowing, whenever you compound something, you're going to get something that multiplies on the back end. So you can also compound lazy. You can also compound excuses. You can also compound a whole bunch of things that you don't want. So let's focus on making the investment. Sacrifice is not a sacrifice, it's an investment. It's an investment. Little bit. Why? Because most of us have not had the self-worth capital built up enough. And most of us have not had the success capital built up enough. And most of us have not had the relationship capital built up enough to be able to start network marketing and go chairman in 30 days. To be able to start trading and be able to turn an account 6 months later into $1 million account. Most of us haven't had that kind of capital built up. We haven't compounded sacrifice long enough because we've been sacrificing the wrong way. And so we have to do it on a fractional thing, just like Robinhood app, just like Acorn app, just like those different types of things. Just like Randy said, buy Bitcoin $10 at a time. Eventually you get one coin. Well, what happens here is you have to begin to sacrifice or invest and allow it to be compounded. Because when you compound those investments, you compound those sacrifices, Chairman 10 is done. Chairman 10 is done. And so the other thing is, last thing, I promise, is I wrote this down and I want to get this out here, is that I understand something, and Sakinah kind of touched on it, but the human being is going to do what the human being wants to do. I learned that so long ago from a man by the name of Errol Webley. And what do I mean by that? How many of y'all have ever gone to sign someone up and they say they don't have the money to do it, and then the next week you see them at the mall buying something, right? or whatever. It's never the money. Well, I won't say it's never. It's very, very rarely is it actually the money. It's just the will to do it. They don't have the intent to do it, right? They don't have the desire to do what it is. In other words, the vision that we planted in their head, they didn't resonate with it enough for them to take that vision on, for them to be excited about joining our team, our organization, our company. We did not build them up the ladder of belief so that they could believe in their own ability to do it. We didn't build them up the ladder of the belief so that they could believe in the company, that they could believe in the mentorship, so that they could believe in us. So they said no, right? And so what happens is they just said, hey, listen, that's a cute thing. I kind of want to do it. That's kind of cool. Hey, Sakinah, maybe get back to me in 2 months. You know, one of those types of things, right? So here's what happens. If you're having problems right now, waking up and making a decision on what to sacrifice or invest into, it's because you're not clear on what you want. It's because you haven't crystallized that why. It's because you have not figured out how I am works into your future. You're just here BSing. I'm just be honest with you. The moment that you understand exactly what you want and how this vehicle is exactly it, it no longer becomes a sacrifice. You can easily see it as an investment. That's the honest to goodness truth. Sakinah hit it right on the head. Is that if you're not willing to make the sacrifice, it's because you don't want or don't know what you want out of the business. You're just here saying, I want chairman, but chairman's not in your heart. And part of the reason that chairman's not in your heart is because you haven't made those little micro transactions, because ultimately our self-conscious does not lie to itself. And so what I mean by that is that you don't feel worthy of chairman. You're calling chairman, but you don't feel worthy because you haven't added those compound sacrifices, those compound decisions, those compound things that say, I deserve this. You know, there's no, listen, you can't, I see him, he happens to be right in front of my face right now, Miguel, right? So Miguel, you don't think it's a sacrifice for him to let everybody know in every single group that he's a part of every single meeting that's going on? Like, that would drive me insane. I'm so thankful for Miguel.
Absolutely.
Right? That's a sacrifice. So you don't think that him making the decision that I'm gonna do 18 meetings a day live on Facebook, right? Every single day, whether someone shows up or not, he's making the sacrifice. He's putting that time in. Why? Because over time, that daily commitment, he's going to feel worthy. And when he feels worthy, other people will see him as worthy and he will become a chairman. Right? So it's so important that you make these investments, because the investments are not just about compounding, you know, what you're going to receive on the back end, but it's also compounding your worth. Folks, I've been doing this for a long time. And what I can tell you right now is that I friggin' deserve to go chairman. I have served so many people. I have helped so many people before I even got in network marketing. For the very first time, I had someone come to me and say, thank you for helping me get free. Do you know what that meant to me as a freedom fighter? I have been investing, I have been sowing, and I am so thankful for this group. I'm so thankful for what we have, because I realize that now I'm on that impulse of life, baby, and I'm excited. And it all comes from the idea of having sacrifice. So I hope that helped you guys. I'll turn it back over to Sakinah. I hope you got some value from that. But I'll turn it back over to you.
Are you kidding me? Like, my notes, I had to pick up a second pencil. I was wearing this thing down so fast. Y'all throw some fire, 7s, 8s, whatever you need to throw in that chat room. It's been lighting up during your entire talk. You know, I think you were just right on, spot on. I think you just busted us all upside our head, you know, which is what we needed to have, you know, and it's all, I mean, you know, when we, like, I'm just so full of just excitement and joy with what we have going on. And you just crushed it. And one of the things you were just talking about was, you know, having that belief, you know, believing that you deserve, yes, shotgun to the head for sure, you know, believing that you deserve these things. And it really all comes down to belief. You know, a lot of times we get caught up in the, well, what do I say? You know, how do I invite? Well, what do I say to, you know, how do I respond to this? How do I respond to that? If your belief is there, it doesn't matter what you say to that person, because your belief is there. you know, and that's a huge, huge thing. It's like, you know, I'll say this and we'll go ahead and wrap this call up. You were talking about so many things that were so key, and it made me kind of go back to when I worked my job. And some of y'all know that story. You know, I worked my job 12 to 15 hours a day, working as an interior designer, 7 days a week. And then I, you know, went back into network marketing. Hey, beautiful. Hello, Bob. So sweet. Oh my gosh. And so I had to make those real sacrifices on my time with everything, right? Especially when I got back into starting network marketing. And when I decided to walk away from my job, I had to still have that mindset when life got in the way, when it got hard dealing with some stuff with the divorce, when it got hard, you know, dealing with my kids and you know, watching them try to, you know, digest this whole divorce thing and just different things that were happening in my life that was happening. I would ask myself this question every single time. Okay, I'm dealing with some stuff right now, but if I was working my job, would I get up and go to work and still be dealing with these problems over here? Is it enough to make me stay in bed if I had a job? And so what I would tell myself, if it's not strong enough that would stop me from going to build somebody else's dream, how in the hell can it be strong enough to stop me from building my own? And it's like when you understand, when you get that, because so many times we'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm not feeling well today, or this person over here, or, you know, there's a death in the family, or there's a funeral to plan, or there's, you know, the kids in the school situation is trying to figure that out, or, you know, I don't know, I'm without a car, my car got wrecked. Well, if you had to be at a job, you'd be Ubering, you call your friends, you do whatever it would take to get to your job. So you have to have the same mindset, and even more so when it comes to building your own business, to going after your own dreams, whatever that looks like to you. Because I'll be damned if I was going to work 12 to 15 hours a day, 7 days a week to go build this man's dream. And then I'm sitting here going, well, I don't feel like getting up today. I don't feel like making a phone call today. I'm tired today. Oh, I didn't wash the dishes today. Oh, I didn't. Well, you know what? I got that ache in my side. Well, you know what? I'll do it tomorrow. I didn't do that there. That doggone CEO came down at the beginning of 2013 to congratulate me because I didn't take a day off in 2012. In his 40 years experience, he never had an employee that didn't take a day off. And the sick thing about it was I didn't even realize it.
Wow.
I didn't know I didn't take a day off in 2012. So there was no way that while I was working 12 to 15 hours a day, I would come home at 7 o'clock and I would walk right into a home party in my home. I would come in through the garage because the people were already in my house. My son was doing the front half. I'd come in and do the back half. We'd do the presentation. We'd sign people up. I'd go upstairs and work on a design project till 2 o'clock in the morning and get back up at 6 and do it all over again. So why in the world can I not do the same thing for my own business? Why in the world? If I'm willing to make that kind of sacrifice. And you have to have that mindset. I know some of y'all are still working jobs. Some of y'all are on this mentorship call right now on a job. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. Unless your goal is to stay at that job. So what? There's a late night chairman call at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. You got to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, go to work. So what? Unless your goal is to stay at that job, then don't get on these mentorship calls. Don't get on the late night calls at night. Don't go in the Go Live Academy. Don't study anything. Keep sacrificing for your boss. Keep sacrificing your family for your boss. Keep sacrificing your time for your boss. Man, Andre, you got me so freaking fired up. You know, it's like, it just, all that stuff just brought back to me. It's like, how can we not? Like, how can we not? How can we be so consumed about Xbox or about all this other stuff, Netflix? If you are watching if you know what the next episode is on your favorite show, if you know what time it comes on, if you know who the characters are, if you're ready for the new season coming up, you're already out the game. You're already out the game because you're not making them sacrifices. If you're more concerned about your hair appointment or your nail appointment than you are about making an appointment to get to your freedom, you're already out the game.
Out the game.
If our nails break off, ladies, if we need a new somebody to do our hair, we're busting up the phone. We're all on Facebook. Who knows somebody who can do hair. I need what? But yet we won't go on Facebook and say, who needs to make some money? Who out here want to make some money? Girl. We'll blow our friends up. We'll call our friends. Oh, girl, you know, my hairstylist, she moved out of town. You know, man, dude, I need somebody to fix my ride. I need this. And we're calling our friends all the time, asking them that, but we won't pick up the phone and call them and ask them about some money. What? We won't ask them, what can we do for you? Listen, I got my hands on something huge. You need to check this out. But yet we'll call them and tell them about a doggone shoe sale. We'll call them and tell them about, man, did you see that game last night? Did you know they playing in the bubble? Like, man, did you see that? We'll do that. But then when it comes to making these phone calls to change some people's life, we ain't got time for that. We got to go to sleep. You know, we got to do all these other things. And like, man, Andre, you just like I said before, you like busted us all upside of our head. We needed that. We needed to hear it. We needed to see it. I can hardly wait. Now, I can't wait to dive into this chapter on sacrifice, because I feel like we just had the chapter on sacrifice. So I can't wait to dive into it and just like, man, absorb it even more. And then when Randy or Wanda, I don't know who's getting back on when, but I'm telling you, this is like, guys, it is time. It is time. Like, just because 2020 started off in a way that most people, everybody else in the world is talking about how negative it is. Honestly, this is really just like what Andre is saying. This has really been my best year. This has been my absolute best year, and you can make it be yours. Don't believe the hype. Stop looking left. Stop looking right. Make the decision for yourself. I'll tell you this before I wrap this up. Many of y'all know that I had, or some of y'all know that I had hand surgery in October of last year. Emergency hand surgery. Some freaky thing happened in the middle of the night. Had to be rushed to the hospital. They had to perform surgery on my hand. And I've been in physical therapy twice a week, every day, excuse me, since November. Well, I forgot how many months or whatever. They decided that the physical therapy wasn't really working like they thought, and it went from my hand to where I couldn't raise my arm, my shoulder. Like, I was in pain every single day. Hand still hurts today, but every single day, major pain. When I would get up out of bed, I would have to hold my shoulder so that I wouldn't move it in order to raise myself up. And I couldn't even raise my arm up to put deodorant on. I had to push this hand up just to get a little crook just to wash it. Crazy, right? So they wanted me to sign up for 6 weeks of a drug that was going to deaden the nerves and go through the treatments. This is why I didn't make it to London. I canceled that trip at the last minute because they wanted me to do these treatments. Now, I was going against my thing in my head, but I'm like listening to them, the specialists. They sent me to the best specialist here in Arkansas, and you know, this man is touted, and you know, my hand surgeon, everybody's telling me I need to do this. So 3 days before I was to start that first treatment, I couldn't do it. It didn't feel right. I was like, something's not right. Something's not right. Now, was I making a big sacrifice on my health? According to some, yes. The hand surgeon wasn't happy. My physical therapist wasn't happy. The specialist wasn't happy. But it just didn't feel right in my soul, okay? Long story short, I made a different decision, went a different path, went with a different physical therapist. And y'all, I can raise my arm up now. I can raise my arm up. You know, I'm like literally so far ahead of where I was. But a lot of times we let all this negative stuff, because all they were saying was negative, 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 negative. And I had to push that out, even though it was my health. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes when you're making those sacrifices and you got to push out some things, it may be difficult. But if you know in your gut that you're better than that, and you're made better than that, and you trust in God, and you know your God is bigger than that, then you have to go for it. So what? Like, literally, I looked at it as the worst case scenario, and that's what I told, literally, that's what I told them. I said, worst case scenario, I'm gonna use that as a last resort. You're using this as a second resort. I'm gonna use it as a last resort. You know, listen, I can't even go any further than that with that, but I'm telling you guys, the things that you have in your life, you have to learn what needs to be canceled out, even if it's coming from sources that you feel are reputable and all of that. You better analyze that stuff, because it's your life. Nobody's living your life but you. You better analyze it. You better check it. You better put them, like Randy talked about last night, put them negative filters up Don't let that mess in, and go for what it is you know that you're supposed to have. You heard Andre say he deserves to be chairman. How many of you on here can say the same thing? How many of you on here, not only can you say it, but you feel it. You felt that from that man is like 8 feet tall. You felt that through every bit of his body, all right? All 8 feet of Andre, okay? All of it. You know, you felt that, right? Do you feel it for yourself? And if you don't, do what it takes to get yourself that feeling, to give yourself that feeling. So guys, man, I appreciate you guys hopping on here. We appreciate you guys hopping on here. Mr. Randy Webb, you all up in them chats. Man, I'm gonna tell you, you know, Randy, it's due to your leadership. It's due, please unmute yourself. It's due to your leadership. It's due to your example. You are the epitome. You and Wanda are the epitome of leading by example. You're the epitome of being a servant leader. You are the epitome of everything that we want for ourselves and our family and our progeny. And I cannot thank you enough. We cannot thank you enough. The best way we can thank you really is to go out here and put into play every single thing that you have taught us, guys, because this is a husband and wife that are making major sacrifices for us, and they don't have to. They do not have to. They're making sacrifices with their time. They're making sacrifices with their family so that we can get to those goals and dreams that we have. So Randy, do me a favor, please unmute yourself. We got to hear your voice. You know, we're excited about you being on here. We have to hear your voice.
Hey guys.
For setting this up, and I'm shut up now. Thank you, Andre, as well, but I'm shutting up. Guys, Chairman 25, Randy Webb is on the line.
Let's go. I'm just going to say I approve the message. You guys crushed this call.
Yes.
You know, sometimes you just got to let things flow and they happen for a reason. I got on here and start hearing the message and said, you know what, man, sometimes God will put things in place just to see and let it play out. And it's like you guys just picked this thing up and ran with it. There was no better message than right now. Someone said it was this is divine time right now. And sometimes things just got to flow. And I thank you guys so much for your leadership and for stepping up and doing this. Man, I got a lot from this call. Oh my goodness, Andre. Thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for sharing your experience. Sakinah, thank you for sharing your experience, your leadership. You guys crushed this call. Let's continually do what we do and leave our legacy. Let's go.
Peace, guys. Hold on. I got the music. Hold on. You know, y'all know how we close it out. Hold on. I got to find it on here. Oh, you know, when you're looking for something too hard, you can't find it. Hold on. I'm going to find it. If somebody has it, then pull it up. Here we go. I got it.
Oh, let's go.
Have a fantastic day, guys. 2-on-1s. Book these calendar schedules. Mine is up. Randy's is up. Let's pack it out.
Legacy.
Come on, you gonna dance?
Y'all have a great morning.
Absolutely. You all have an even greater morning. The song title is called Legacy with Talib Kweli. I'll put it in the chat room. Mike Cosby.
My God, thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Sakinah.
Thank you. Great to see you, beautiful.
Gracias. Gracias, Sakinah. Andre, gracias.
I'm putting the title in this for y'all.
Thank you for inviting me, Sakinah.
You all are welcome. Hey, Jennifer.
Look at the chair girl. Look at the chair girl. Next to Andre.
Yeah, she always wants to jump in, but we in the house, so her hair is not done. So, guys, when I take her out, I actually do something with this, just so y'all know, all right? We let her leave the house like this.
Hey, Andre, you know she's looking for Wanda.
She is looking for Wanda. She heard Randy, that's why she came running over here.
I can see the future.
Come on, Bob. Here we go.
Damita is loving this right here. Look at that. Here's Damita. Here's Damita. Hey, where are the chairman and chairwoman faces? All I see is names.
Oh, no, that's not how we do.
When Jay Hud joined the group. Hold up.
I heard that.
Curtis.
Chairman
She's gonna show up in the house.
Hey, Jamita, there we go.
You can call me the
We're
real
doing that Q1000 on the way to chairman dance. There we go. Hey. I see you, Jennifer. Sylvia must be selling a house right now. Got that camera on. Look, y'all, if I can get up and run and grab a scarf to put on, y'all need to unmute these cameras.
Shoot, look at my shirt. My collar's all hanging down.
Here we go, Devin. That's right. Cleaning up this morning. Man, you know, Peter, what's his face? They used to be on Real Housewives of Atlanta. He had the gray beard. Got that shaving cream on. Here we go, Jennifer. That's right. Let us see your beautiful face. Dennis, that's right. Behind the truck, getting it in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Janita right there at the office. There we go.
If I'm showing this face, you can show yours.
So where do I get my new theme music from? Where do I get it from? What's it called?
Thanks, everybody. What a wonderful call.
You all are welcome. We are going to close this bad boy out. Have a fantastic day. Like I said, we've got those calendar appointments in the groups.